Hi everyone, this is Miss Leslie with the Chandler Public Library, and today we're going to be doing solar printmaking. Now, I bet you're wondering what that is. Let me show you. Today I'm going to be showing you two ways of doing this. But before we get started, we need some materials. So the first thing we're going to need is a solar reactive dye. Now there's two companies that make this. There's Lumidye and there's Jacquard Solarfast. Today I'm going to be using Jacquard Solarfast, but you can purchase this online or at some of your local art supply stores. We will also be needing transparency paper. We'll be needing some random items from your junk drawer. You're going to need tape. You're going to need a sponge. Now, depending on what items you want to print on, you can print on watercolor paper or a piece of fabric. Today I'm going to be using watercolor paper. And we're going to be needing a hard surface to put our paper or fabric onto. So let's get started. Today I'm going to use the color violet. Before you get started though, you want to shake it up. Make sure your dye is all mixed together. Now you can have a paper plate to put this on so you can paint from it, but because the paper is watercolor paper, I'm just going to put it directly on it and sponge it. Now some colors are not going to turn out as well as other colors, but my favorite colors to use are violet and the blue color. They seem to turn out the best. And then we're going to use a sponge and we're going to sponge it all across your surface. It shouldn't take a whole lot to do it. A few paint spots here and there. You just want to make sure to cover all. And now, it's going to look deceptive with colors like violet because what's happening right now is it's seeping into your watercolor paper. With certain other inks like yellow or green, your whole paper will look yellow. If your image is the same size as your paper, then I recommend painting your whole paper. If your image is a 4x6 or a 5x7 or something smaller, all you need to do is paint the area in which it is sitting in. All right, and the next thing you want to do is, so just in case if you have too much dye, it builds up on the surface, is that you just want to go and very gently blot your paper. Typically, a lot of this will happen also on your fabric. It'll seem to blot up a little more on that type of surface than this one because it's seeping into the watercolor paper. All right. So once we're done with that, the next thing we need to do is we're going to attach your photo onto the paper. There's two things that are important here. The first thing is that you need a black and white photo with high contrast, which means you need really rich blacks and very bright whites. The next thing you want to do is once you find your black and white photo, you're going to have to convert it into a negative. So you can do it with free software such as Paint, Photoshop, or you can go look on YouTube to find out different ways to invert your photo. So next you're going to secure your photo down onto your paper. Now I'm using a clipboard, so I'm able to secure it at the top. And I'm trying to line it up as close as I can with my paper because my photo is for the most part, almost an 8.5 by 11, the same as my paper. But if your photo happens to be smaller, like a 5x7 or a 4x6, you can secure it in the middle of it if you want. So I'm going to secure it down with some tape. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to tape both of my sides, but at the end here, I do have some clips. And I could use those to secure it in. But let's see if the tape works. So the best kind of tape I recommend using is painter's tape or masking tape because it's typically used for a wet medium such as paint. Another thing to keep in mind is that wherever you tape, so right here, I did tape over my photo, which means when the sun comes through, it's going to not pick up on that. It's going to just block wherever it is. So you'll see the tape mark go straight through my photo. My tape might be able to secure me in. I'm pinching it on the sides here at think I'm going to add extra security to it by adding a pin. The reason why we're doing this is because you have to take it outside, and on a very windy day, it's going to be very bad if you don't have your photo taped in, because it's going to blow away. So it's good to have it secured down. Also, another reason why we have it taped or secured down is that you want it as flat as possible up against your paper. Because if it's blurry or anything, or if it's scrunched together, your photo will not turn out that way and it will blur. So it's good to have it right up against the grid. So now it's time to go outside and expose it. Now it's time to expose it for 10 minutes. All right, time's up. Let's see how it turned out. Now let's see how this turned out. If you print on a transparency, it is possible that some of the ink might come up with your tape. On this side, I'm having a good bit, but most of it wasn't even on the paper, so it doesn't matter all that much. But I think another reason why is that the firmer you press it down, the more it might take it up. And here's the big reveal. So for the most part, this turned out really well. One of the things to note though is that this picture possibly wasn't the best suited for this type of project due to the ostriches being a little too dark right in here. So it's really important to have the high contrast, as in like maybe a landscape photo, because you don't want things to just be 2 colors or even 3 colors. You want it to be an array of different shades in a monochromatic form. The other thing is that you can see where I made my streaks on here and where I covered on the paper. You can see where I potentially missed a spot right here where the ostrich is missing a piece of himself. And about how the color of the ostrich here is a little too dark for us. It doesn't really have a mixture of a lot of different grays in between. And it's really important to have a high contrast photo. We have the white, we have the really dark violet, but there's not a whole lot of in-betweens going on right here. And it's really good to have a lot of good contrast. So this might have not been the best photo. Overall though, I think my ostriches turned out beautiful and I'm going to keep them. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I hope you get to enjoy in the process as well. So this is our photogram with all our items from the junk drawer. And so one of the things I can already tell you about it is that it turned out, but we baked it in the sun for 10 minutes, but it could have used probably a longer exposure. So I would be okay with doubling the time to 20 minutes even, just to get a darker color on it, because photograms are more about real positive and negative imagery, as you can see here, and not all the grays in between. You can also see with the different items that certain ones actually caused a darker blue because we used a jewel that was actually a reflective material. So the sun pierced through it a little harder, exposing this dot for longer. Thank you so much for joining us today.